I am Spence from CIP, and well, it's that time of year. Or that time every 4 years. It's election time yet again. As every 4 years, we as a country come together or tear ourselves down to decide who the next president of the United States will be. There are also big key races in the House and the Senate. Right now, it seems like Trump has the overall advantage in the Sun Belt states of Georgia, Arizona, and North Carolina, while Kamala Harris seems to be slightly up in Michigan due to high black turnout in Detroit. Kamala Harris has been leading in the popular vote for the most part since she joined the race. However, that lead has tightened significantly in the last few weeks, and there are even some polls saying that Trump will win the popular vote. Polling has overestimated Democrats in 2016 and 2020, and Trump has been polling better in those cycles. Democrats believe that polls may have overcompensated for polling errors, and they use Roe v. Wade and the 2022 midterms to suggest Democrats may be underestimated this time around. On Sunday, a comedian at Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden made some jokes about Puerto Ricans that didn't go over well with some people. In response, last night, President Biden called Trump supporters trash and caused outrage from many people who support the former president. Also on Sunday, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and vice presidential candidate Tim Walz played Madden to try and get people out to vote. The 7 key swing states in this election are North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. There are other states that some people think could be an upset, but for the most part, these are the 7 states that the candidates are looking at and will decide this election. Right now, Republicans are heavily favored to take back the Senate and could win as many as 55 seats depending on what happens, while the House looks like a toss-up, and Democrats will look to retake the House after losing it in 2022, although they did a lot better than they were projected to do that year. The key issues, the economy, Donald Trump seems to be running on that a lot, saying that the economy under Biden and Harris was not very good and that the cost of groceries and goods were very high. Kamala Harris seems to be running a lot on abortion and women's rights. As Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, that definitely helped Democrats in the midterms do better than expected. And Kamala is hoping that high female turnout will help her get the win. Donald Trump has been running very strong on the border. In 2016, Trump's main thing was building the wall. That got a lot of controversy and maybe wasn't as popular at the time, but Joe Biden became president, and a lot of people on the right have said that the border is a disaster and it is their number one issue, and it is an issue that favors Trump. Crime, Trump has been running on crime in big cities and all that. Kamala Harris, she was a prosecutor though, so there's also that argument that she can make, the prosecutor versus the felon aspect that she has tried to make. And then obviously another 2 big talking points for the Harris campaign is democracy. Obviously, Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election, and Kamala Harris is saying that Trump is a threat to democracy and all that, and she's trying to scare people into voting for her. And then Project 2025, that's been a talking point for Harris' campaign. It was for the Biden campaign before he dropped out. That Project 2025 has been a big talking point for the Democrats. Early voting has been way up for Republicans in 2024, as Republicans have embraced early voting more than they did in 2022 and 2020. In 2020 and 2022, Republicans were very against it, but after the 2022 disaster in the midterms, Republicans have encouraged to vote early, and the signs have been showing Republicans have been making improvements in early voting, at least at this time compared to 2020 and 2022. Of the swing states, I think I already said this. I think North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona lean towards Trump. The reason being is North Carolina, it's always kind of close, but Trump tends to win that state and Republicans tend to win that state. I know Obama won it in 2008, but it's always close. Republicans seem to pull it out, and polling seems to favor Republicans. Georgia got really high turnout in 2020. Harris could definitely win the state, but I'd say right now Trump is favored. And then Arizona seems to be trending to the left. Biden did win it in 2020, but the border issue is a very big issue to people in Arizona, which is why I think Trump is the favorite. And then I think Kamala Harris is favored to win Michigan. Some Republicans have been saying Trump will win Michigan, but Michigan is the most liberal of the Rust Belt states, and she won it by like 2 points in 2020. I think it might be a little bit closer, but I think Harris is going to win Michigan, especially because of the high turnout in early voting in the Detroit area. So what I think this race probably comes down to is Donald Trump will have to win one of the Rust Belt states. Assuming he wins Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, which I think is going to happen, it's going to come down to, can Trump break the blue wall and win one of the Rust Belt states? If he can, I think he probably wins the presidency. If not, I think, well, then Kamala Harris would win, because there's no real path for Trump to win if he doesn't win any of the Rust Belt states, unless a miracle happens in Virginia, but I highly doubt that. Political violence has been a big topic. No matter what happens, the losing party will probably challenge the results, whether it's Republicans blaming voter fraud or dead people voting, or Democrats blaming Russian collusion, or all that. The tensions will be very high in this election, and the voters will decide which direction our country will go in for the next 4 years. Have a happy election day and get out to vote. I'm Spence Kling from CIP, and this is the election preview.